Confessions of a British Spy, said the author.
My friends had returned to London before I did, and they had already received new directives from the ministry. I too was given new directives upon returning. Unfortunately, only 6 of us were back. One of the other 4 people, the secretary said, had become Muslim and remained in Egypt. Yet the secretary was still pleased because he said he had not betrayed any secrets. The second one had gone to Russia and remained there. He was Russian in origin. The secretary was very sorry about him, not because he had gone back to his homeland, but because perhaps he had been spying on the Ministry of the Commonwealth for Russia and had gone back home because his mission had been over. The third one, as the secretary related, had died of plague in a town named Imara, in the neighborhood of Baghdad. The fourth person had been traced by the ministry up to the city of Sana'a in the Yemen, and they had received his reports for 1 year, and thereafter his reporting had come to an end, and no trail of him had been found, despite all sorts of efforts. The ministry put down the disappearance of these 4 men as a catastrophe, for we are a nation with great duties versus a small population. We therefore do very fine calculations on every man. After a few of my reports, the secretary held a meeting to scrutinize the reports given by the 4 of us. When my friends submitted their reports pertaining to their tasks, I too submitted my report. They took some notes from my report. The minister, the secretary, and some of those who attended the meeting praised my work. Nevertheless, I was the 3rd best. The first grade was won by my friend George Belcoud, and Henry Fance was the 2nd best. I had doubtlessly been greatly successful in learning Turkish, Arabic, the Quran, and the Sharia. Yet I had not managed to prepare for the ministry a report revealing the weak aspects of the Ottoman Empire. After the 2-hour meeting, the secretary asked me the reason for my failure. I said, my essential duty was to learn the languages and the Quran and the Sharia. I could not spare time for anything in addition. But I shall please you this time if you trust me. The secretary said I was certainly successful, but he wished I had won the 1st grade. He went on. He said, "Oh, Hempher, your next mission comprises these 2 tasks. Number 1, to discover Muslims' weak points and the points through which we can enter their bodies and disjoin their limbs. Indeed, this is the way to beat the enemy. Number 2, the moment you have detected these points and done what I have told you to do, you will be the most successful agent and earn a medal from the ministry." I stayed in London for 6 months. I married my paternal first cousin, Maria Schwey. At that time I was 22 years old, and she was 23. Maria Schwey was a very pretty girl, with average intelligence and an ordinary cultural background. The happiest and the most cheerful days of my life were those that I spent with her. My wife was pregnant. We were expecting our new guest when I received the message containing the order that I should leave for Iraq. Receiving this order at a time while I was awaiting the birth of my son made me sad. However, the importance I attached to my country, compounded with my ambition to attain fame by being chosen the best one amongst my colleagues, was above my emotions as a husband and as a father. So I accepted the task without hesitation. My wife wanted me to postpone the mission till after the child's birth. Yet I ignored what she said. We were both weeping as we said farewell to each other. My wife said, "Don't stop writing to me. I shall write you letters about our new home, which is as valuable as gold." These words of hers stirred up storms in my heart. I almost cancelled the journey. Yet I managed to take control of my emotions. Extending my farewell to her, I left for the ministry to receive the final instructions. 6 months later, I found myself in the city of Basra, Iraq. The city people were partly Sunnite and partly Shiite. Basra was a city of tribes, with a mixed population of Arabs, Persians, and a relatively small number of Christians. It was the first time in my life that I met with the Persians. Muhammad's alayhi salam's prophethood is a matter of doubt to us Christians. Muslims say that there are many proof for Muhammad's alayhi salam's prophethood. One of them is the Quran. I have read the Quran. Indeed, it is a very high book. It is even higher than the Torah and the Bible, for it contains principles, regulations, moral codes, etc. It has been a wonder to me how an illiterate person such as Muhammad alayhi salam could have brought such a lofty book, and how could he have all those moral, intellectual and personal qualifications which could not be possessed even by a man who has read and travelled very much. I wonder if these facts were proofs for Muhammad alayhi salam's prophethood. I always made observations and research in order to elicit the truth about Muhammad alayhi salam's prophethood. Once, I brought out my interest to a priest in London. His answer was fanatical and obdurate, and was not convincing at all. I asked Ahmed Effendi several times when I was in Turkey. Yet I did not receive a satisfactory answer from him either. To tell the truth, I avoided asking Ahmed Effendi questions directly related to the matter, lest they should become suspicious about my espionage. I think very much of Muhammad alayhi salam. No doubt, he is one of Allah's prophets, about whom we have read in books. Yet, being a Christian, I have not believed in his prophethood yet. It is doubtless that he was very much superior to geniuses. One day in the ministry of the Commonwealth, I made a reference to the difference between the Sunnis and the Shia, saying, if Muslims knew something about life, they would resolve the Shia-Sunni difference among themselves and come together. Someone interrupted me and remonstrated, your duty is to provoke this difference, not to think of how to bring Muslims together. Before I set out for my journey to Iraq, the secretary said, "Oh Hempher, you should know that there have been natural differences among human beings since God created Abel and Cain. These controversies shall continue until the return of Jesus Christ. So is the case with racial, tribal, territorial, national and religious controversies. Your duty this time is to diagnose these controversies well and to report to the ministry. The more successful you are in aggravating the differences amongst Muslims, the greater your service to England. We, the English people, have to make mischief and arouse schism in all our colonies in order that we may live in welfare and luxury. Only by means of such instigations will we be able to demolish the Ottoman Empire. Otherwise, how could a nation with a small population bring another nation with a greater population under its sway? Look for the mouth of the chasm with all your might, and get in as soon as you find it. You should know that the Ottoman and Iranian empires have reached the nadir of their existence. Therefore, your first duty is to instigate the people against the administration. History has shown that the source of all sorts of revolutions is public rebellions. When the unity of Muslims is broken, and the common sympathy amongst them is impaired, their force will be dissolved, and thus we shall easily destroy them.